across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're going to go back to West Yorkshire Police. That is the constabulary that yesterday we revealed on this show, courtesy of Isabel Oakeshott, is currently preventing white British people from applying to be police officers. Only ethnic people from ethnic community, people of colour, need apply. Now, the West Yorkshire Police says that it has looked into this, and they believe that they are perfectly within their legal rights to do this because, of course, like so many other people who've seen this story, it struck me this was racist, certainly discriminatory. You know, banning, in essence, banning people from applying to be coppers on the basis of the colour of their skin. That has to be against our racial equality laws. Now, West Yorkshire Police stress that they have looked into this. They could clearly see there might be problems here. Their lawyers have been into this. They've looked at the Equality Act, and they believe they're within their rights to bring about something called positive discrimination, which I call just discrimination, in order to redress the balance that in the local police force up there are only 9% of the officers are of ethnic origin, and yet the local community, 23% are of ethnic origin. So they believe they are within their legal rights to stop white people applying so they can try and reflect the local community a bit more by an ethnics-only hiring policy. Whites need not apply. Now, to get the kind of legal angle on that, as I say, strikes me as pretty damned obvious that this is discriminatory. And while you might be able to argue it's within the law, the equality law, I bet you can also argue it's against the law, and I'm going to try and get someone to do that. Now, he is, of course, the brilliant barrister Andrew Eborn in the studio. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you. Always a joy to join you.
This is what West Yorkshire Police say. The most recent census found 23% of people in West Yorkshire identified as being from an ethnic background. Our current police officer representation of ethnic minority backgrounds is around 9%. To address this underrepresentation, we used positive action under the Equality Act of 2010. Our use of this was recently, you can tell they were worried about this, our use of this was recently reviewed by His Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary and Fire and Rescue Services in Activism. By the way, His Majesty's Inspection of Constabulary, I wouldn't trust as far as you could throw them, but they say it's been reviewed by His Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary, and impartiality, and no issues were identified. I think there are issues, aren't there?
There are very clearly issues, and this is a stain on British policing and must be reversed immediately. When you talk about reviewed by the fire people, well, this is absolute nonsense. The law is very, very clear. It's about proportionality. And what's happened, the Equality Act is designed to make sure there isn't prejudice. They've misunderstood what's meant by positive discrimination. And there's been case law on this, including furlough very, very recently, where they sort of turn around and say, what you've got to do is open it up for everybody, and it's based on meritocracy. It's only when you have equal candidates that you can turn around and say, well, actually, now we're underrepresented with a particular minority, we can then make that decision. You're excluding them far too early on in the process. And for me, it's fairly straightforward.
Well, when you say excluded, at the moment, white people are prevented from even applying.
Exactly. So that's clearly discriminatory. It's clearly wrong. They've misunderstood the law. And if that's the case, what they're talking about is the window, and the devil's always in the detail. They're saying, basically, what's happening, they can encourage non-whites, because of the misrepresentation or misproportionality at the moment, to apply earlier, year-round, than whites. That's what they're trying to say. Well, why? Why are they doing that? They've got to show that it's effective to achieve what's supposed to be achieved under the Act.
I think what we have to focus on, a lot of people say, oh, it's temporary. What? How do we know it's temporary? The fact is, right now, if you're white and you want to be a copper in West Yorkshire, you can't apply. They won't give you the job. If you're from an ethnic community, you've got every chance of getting the job. So, you know, I don't think you're a brilliant lawyer, of course, a high-flying barrister, but you don't have to be a brilliant lawyer to say, this is discrimination on the basis of the colour of someone's skin.
Of course it is. And it doesn't fall within the exception. Because if you're excluding people even before you got to the interview process, there's very clear case law on that. I talked about the case of Furlow, again a police case, where they turned around and tried something similar and they said, you can't do it. So whoever's advising them is advising them incorrectly. It's so clear, you cannot discriminate on the basis of race at that stage. You say it's open to everybody. If there's basically a meritocracy, that's what you need to look at. If there are equal candidates by the time you get to the final process, then you might be able to do this positive discrimination under certain circumstances, but you need to justify it.
So, should a white person who applied to West Yorkshire Police only to find that they were prevented from applying, or that ethnic candidates were prioritised over them, choose to sue the West Yorkshire Police, they'd have a damn good case.
They'd have an excellent case, because what they can turn around, and there's all sorts of things, say, hang on, we've clearly been prejudiced against this, we weren't allowed to follow this process, and as a result we're entitled to compensation. And again, there's lots of rich case law about this, and it's not just that, it's the reputational damage, it's the lawyers' costs, which they're going to have to suffer as a result. Particular that runs into tens of thousands about the new campaign and so on and so forth. And again, there are precedents. I would urge them to abandon this instantly. Trust comes in on foot and leads on horseback. They're losing the trust of the people as a result.
Well, they're desperate to be woken right on, but I would not be out of order to say that their policy is racist.
Of course it's racist. Of course it's racist. You turn around and say, you don't apply, you're white. I mean, that's racist. So you've got to turn around. I get it, but they've misunderstood. I get it. 23% of the population is non-white. For them, they've only got 9% of the police force. I
don't mind. I don't mind I don't mind that ambition. Although I do think that police officers should be chosen on only one basis:
merit.
Excellence, merit. Because this is a very important job. But if you want to have these quota targets, you know, I'm not that energised by that, but this has spilled over into outright discrimination, outright racism.
And it's totally wrong, Kevin. And it's exactly that. And again, the law is so clear on this. It's so clear. So the positive discrimination, which is basically to try and redress the balance, it really is turning around on the basis that you get to the final stage, you've got two candidates, one's white, one's non-white, you're turning around, you have to justify it, say, well, that's when you do it. But if you exclude them early on so they don't get a chance of getting the job, it's wrong. They've misunderstood it and they need to repeal it immediately.
You'd quite fancy this case, wouldn't you?
Oh, take it on. I've never lost a case.
He's never lost a case. He doesn't like to mention that, but I don't think he'd lose that case. Andrew, perfect. There you go, folks. Barrister here, top barrister, never lost a case, is saying quite openly, quite directly that West Yorkshire Police, by banning or preventing white people from applying to be coppers, are breaking our equality laws.
It's a stain on policing.
This is a stain on policing, discriminatory, racist. There you go. Let me know what you think. 0344499 1000. Thank you very much, Andrew. Always a pleasure.